Hey, this is Ryan Sweenor. We're down in South Kingstown, Rhode Island today installing Andersen A-Series windows, which is their highest performing window designed for any climate, which is great because it can handle the harsh climates that we deal with here on the water. And we are in a 120 wind zone, so they are able to withstand anything that Mother Nature can throw at them. It makes the installation process a breeze, and it gives us the confidence that we know the window is going to last as long as the house without any issues with moisture getting in.
Hey, I'm Max Lubovitz here with Ryan Sweenor. We're going to install some A-Series windows by Andersen today. And the first step to prepping a window before installation is to take it out of the box. So after Ryan gets the handles off, we're going to clean the flange, make sure it's nice and dry, ready to apply some caulk around the corners before we go out and prep the RO itself.
We're also going to take our hurricane clips, slide them and fold them all in.
We folded all our hurricane clips inward so that they don't get caught in our rough opening once we install the window. We're also going to caulk around the corners on the interior of the flange, and then we're going to go outside and prep the exterior of our rough opening.
So you want a nice continuous bead along the whole length of the pieces of tape that they put on the corners of the flanges. It's just an extra level of security. One of the main factors that we are concerned about is water mitigation, and especially in the coastal environments, the wind-driven rain will find a way, if there's a way for water to get in, so we take some redundant steps to make sure that there's no possible way water can get in. So obviously the goal is to keep water from getting into the building and getting into the window at all, but as an extra level of security, we like to put a piece of clapboard on our sills before we flash it. And that gives us a little 5-degree pitch, so if water ever were to enter, it would be able to run down the pitch, out the flashing, and never enter the building or give us any issues.
Yeah, so we've already got the clapboard installed. We've verified that our rough opening is square, level, and plumb, and the correct size. So Ryan's gonna start installing our bottom flashing here, the stretch tape, while I cut back the house wrap and tape it up out of the way. When you cut the house wrap back, you only want to cut as much as you need to get your top flashing to fit. So in this case, we're using Hydro Flash, which is 6 inches wide. So I just like to make a little 6-inch reference mark on either side. And when we cut our house wrap back, we like to cut up at a 45-degree angle from the top of the rough opening, just to up above that 6-inch reference mark that we made.
Now, when installing the stretch tape, I like to make a mark in the center of the rough opening and start there, working the way out towards the edges. I just find that to be the most forgiving strategy to keep it nice and wrinkle-free. Make sure it's nice and tight in the corners so that you're not getting any bubbles or wrinkles. Once that half's done, you can peel back the other half. No.
We like to use a little piece of the Hydro Flash to tape the house wrap up and get it out of the way.
Once we have this attached to the sill and flapped up, we can stretch it down. And the stretch tape avoids any seams here that would come with the traditional flashing tape, making sure that there's just one less entry point for water. We always like to make sure that we roll our flashing tape, every part of it, and that gives us that nice tight adhesion that we know is going to last. Once our stretch tape is installed and rolled, and our top flashing or top house wrap is flapped up. Max is gonna apply a bead of silicone about 1/4 inch away from the edges of our rough opening on 3 sides, and that's gonna catch the flange once we put the window in.
No caulk on the bottom. All right, so before we install our A-series Andersen window here, we've done all the prep work inside to get the window ready for installation. We've come outside, completely prepped our exterior, and we're just about ready to put the window in the hole.
Now, to counteract our pitch that we've created in the sill, we just start with the plastic shim turned backwards, and that gives us a level surface for the window jambs to sit on. And we want to place these about 1/4 inch away from the edge of the rough opening, and that gives us a solid place to bear on the jambs of the window. Now that our window and our rough opening are prepared for install, we are ready to put this thing in.
Let's do it.
Now, we always want to make sure until we're fastened that someone is keeping a hand on the window at all times. Readjust the shims if necessary, if they moved during turbulence. Now, we have a reference line that we've established around the house to make sure that the tops of our windows are all equal. So the first thing that I will do is make sure that we can see our laser line right there. And that lets me know that we're at a good height so that Max can begin by tacking that corner. And I can see right here that our sill is nice and level and it looks like we're good. So once I center us in the rough opening, I'm gonna have Max tack the top corner and he can verify that the top of the window is level. All right, we're centered and we're on our line ready for attack.
You got it.
All right, let's see how we're looking for level.
Right on, perfect.
Beautiful. Love when that happens. So we'll get a tack in the other corner up top. Beautiful. Now we know our window is safely in the hole, and as another measure of redundancy, I like to shoot a plumb line with the laser on the inside, and eventually we'll use that to set our jamb perfectly straight, which makes it easy for the trim installation. But Max is also going to be checking the outside with a level. By the looks of it, we're going to need a little bit of tweakage. So now that the outside is tacked, is nice and straight, we still have a little bit of play on the inside here, so that's when I like to shim right along, right at the center where our sash meets. And I'll use my laser line as a reference to keep us nice and straight.
I like to double check plumb level square before we nail it off. Top looks perfect. Check both sides. Perfect. Beautiful.
All right. Now we're ready to remove our jam spreader. And we'll save these screws because they will go back in the holes after we're done. So we have a nice smooth operation here. The last thing that needs to happen is put backer rod and non-expanding spray foam insulation around the perimeter of the window. We typically do that at a later date.
All right, all nailed off on the outside. Now we're ready to lay down a bead of silicone along the top of our window and install the drip cap. Oh, would you look at that? You already cut it and everything.
Drip cap?
That drip cap. Yeah, so being this close to the water here in a coastal environment with brutal weather, it's super important to have everything nice and watertight and weatherproof. And with these A-series windows, them being the highest performing windows that Andersen offers, we couldn't ask for a better product. And taking all these steps, we find to create a nice waterproof, weatherproof seal to your window. It's time to hydro flash our sides and the top. We always put the sides on first. The top flashing comes across, covers your side flashing, creates a nice watertight seal, which is super important building close to the ocean like we do often. It's time to flap our house wrap back down that we had previously cut and taped up out of the way. And we're gonna re-stick the house wrap back where it belongs. Give that a nice roll. And the final step of the process is to cut a few pieces of your hydro flash and install them along the seam of the house wrap and the flashing around the window. That's gonna seal everything up, give us a complete waterproof, watertight window.
Now the last step before the waterproofing is complete is we need to put another bead of sealant along where the flange meets the window. We choose to do this during the trim phase with a white sealant. That way we don't have to worry about the bead building up as we put the trim on. So once the casing is ready to go on, we'll put that nice bead on and put the casing on, and that'll squeeze right in there, and it'll be our nice caulk joint around the perimeter of the window while acting as the final sealant to make this completely watertight. For now, our window is complete. We've installed many different types of windows across the board, and Andersen's by far the most user-friendly. As you can see when we went to install, there's very little tweakage that needs to happen. It's a nice operating window. It's perfectly square out of the box and just gives us the confidence that we know we have a good product on our hands and we can hand off the house to the customer knowing that they're gonna have top-notch quality windows in their house that will never give them any issues.